Hello and welcome to GG Weekend Watch, kindly sponsored by BetMGM, with myself, Kate Tracey, Andrew Mount and Dave Young, to look ahead to a key weekend of racing. Of course, it is the 2,000 and 1,000 guineas at Newmarket. We're going to be covering the action on Saturday, so we're covering the 2,000 guineas, as well as maybe just an early look ahead of the 1,000, for all that we don't have final declarations as we record on Thursday afternoon. And we've also got a couple of Brucey bonus races from Thirsk and Goodwood as well to go at. So, lads, we're going to have a quick look back at last week's successes then, because of course it was basically our final day on this show of the jump season. So Nick Rocket as my nap finished third, then Andrew had Steel Ally finishing third, Alma Pier finishing second, and Earl's really nice winner as well. Then for Andrew, right, we kickstart with a really easy one, a heritage handicap over 6 furlongs at Newmarket. This comes up at 145, 4-year olds and over, 7 to on the field, headed by the wonderful old boy, now a 10-year-old Summerghand in here. But this is an extra place race then with BetMGM, 5 places on offer. Andrew, are you looking to utilise that, or where are we looking for this opener?
Yeah, I love this race. I went down the rabbit hole of this. I could sit here all day and just look at these horses. I love these older sprinters. I mean, the first thing to mention, of course, the stalls on 2,000 Guineas Day are down the centre of the track. So where are they going to go? At the Craven meeting, they went far side and to help the low-drawn runners. But looking at the pace of this race, there's a lot of hold-up horses drawn low, and I think they might come more towards the near side. So Summerghand was a big eye-catcher at the Craven meeting when he finished 5th. It was behind Dog 30. Big advantage to be on the pace that day. There was a tailwind, as well as the usual front-running bias at Newmarket. The first four home, press leader, prominent, in touch with leaders, Now, Summerghand, is a better though to come from off the pace, but we know he's a horse who tends to come best, come good in sort of July, August. So he's short enough, isn't he? Given he's a 10-year-old. And he's on the rolling mile again. Don't forget, there might be a similar bias. So, do you want to back him at that sort of price? Probably not. The ones on my radar were Abate, a front runner from stall 13, who another one who seems best in high summer, but that 6th here on his comeback would have been needed. And Adrian Nichols's sprinters have been going well. And Wallop is a funny old one. I think he's outside of the entire field here, around about 25 to 1. Now, he's drawn 16. He's under Rosallion, trained by Richard Hannon. Now, he was ridden patiently here on his comeback when ridden by a £3 claimer. That was no help whatsoever. That was also his first run for pretty much exactly 12 months. So when Rosallion gets back on a horse that was ridden by a different jockey last time out, that generally means a change of tactics. It's a bit like booking Joe Fanning. You know what you're going to get, or Jamie Spencer. You're going to get a hold-up right. So I think Wallop from stall 16 is going to go forward under Rosallion, going to come across to the stand-side rail. And I'm really excited about his chances here. He's very lightly rated, only had 5 runs. And, he's a winner at Kempton on his penultimate start. And so I'm going to go Wallop 25 to 1, Saver on Abate around about the same price.
I was going to say, sorry, Kiwis joined the party again, by the way. 2 of the outsiders of the field then in here with Wallop and Abate, 2 massive prices, 25 to 1. The price about terrible.
Can I just give an honourable mention to one of the Rabar, second best of the hold-up horses at York on his final start last term, can go from the front, stall 14. Gelded since his last run as well. So I think the pace, I think they're going to come across downside. They'll all sort of break down the middle, fanny about. A lot of hold-up horses on the far side. Wallop and Rabar and Abate, drawn 13, 14, 16, all the pace angles that lead them across to the near side rail, and that might set the precedent for the rest of the day. And if the winner comes from a high draw down the stand side in the first, in this race, then we could see that going on for the rest of the day. So I think we're going to do a play spot. Load it with high drawn runners, I think, because we're going to be in for a few shocks.
Oh, okay. An interesting way to play it then in terms of the draw and exactly where the runners will hopefully end up then at Newmarket. Dave, does that fit into where you were looking in terms of the draw for your selection?
I mean, not particularly. The only thing that really
wonderful.
The only thing that really fit in was, like Andrew said, and I'm going to say this because then it means Andrew's backing me. Summerghand was a massive eye catcher last time out, and I think for all that he is terribly sure. Right, he's a 10-year-old. He's £12 lower than he was racing in this last year. That last run, although the eye-catching aspect of it means that the price is now a little bit shorter than it would have been otherwise, at least it confirms that it's still the horse of old, and he's still got the ability to make a bit of make a bit of an effort of it in this type of race. I can't really make as many like positive, negative, pro-con lists for anything else in the field where it weighs up as much as I think it does for Summerghand, just based off the back of that last run. So I think that he would be my selection in the race. 7-1 top price at the time of recording, 5 places that are up for grabs. I don't see how he's going to be out the frame with a similar run to last time out. And on that effort last time out with a clear passage, I do just think he wins. So while he's probably a little bit shorter than you'd maybe want him to be, he still could be a 5-1 winner on the open. And if we get one of them in on a Saturday, then that probably covers the day. So I'm still going to stick with him. For all that I understand that he was an eye-catch and he's priced accordingly, but if he wasn't 10, if he was sort of 7 or 8, I think we wouldn't be looking at that as much of a negative. We'd be saying, actually, Joe, I can see why he's the price that he is. But yeah, 7-1's top price at the time of recording. He's 5-1 general. That is skinny in it, but I've said it now. Summerghand, the favourite in the first.
And 5 places on offer as well. Like I say, if he goes in and goes and wins this, then that's a nice way to start the day. Right, that was Newmarket's opener. We move on to Goodwood now for the listed Conqueror Filly Stakes. This comes up at 205, 3 year odds and over a mile. And again, a pretty open contest that we've got in here then, Dave. Loads of likeable fillies, you know, plenty about. Novus and Briege are the two that vying for favouritism at this stage. Who did you like?
Well, I liked the one that we all liked, but I don't like the ground. That's what's annoying me. But I can't get away from the fact of Choisya.
Yeah, I know. Have we decided how to pronounce her name yet? Have we decided from last night?
Each time she runs, we'll get a different definition. But I just think that she was ridden like well enough the last day. However, it's one of those rides where I'm sure the jockey, if they had it back, he would have just pushed the button a little bit sooner. She would have won, and I think we'd probably be looking at her coming into this saying, "Oh, maybe we had our win the last day." The ground's probably against her, and I'd probably be looking at it from like a less, I guess, biased view. She's got like I think a £9 swing it is, or something similar with Novus when she beat a course and distance here before. Admittedly, that was on good to soft. I don't know. It's hard to get away from her, but I am worried about the ground. I've looked at the weather forecast to try and see if it's going to dry out. I don't think it really will, but I would imagine, given the fact that she is a capable animal, they're not going to run her unless the ground is going to be suitable to do her justice. I think she's potentially priced on the fact that the ground's not massively to her liking because she is a top price 4-1 at the time of writing. There's four horses in here that are all 7-2 or 4-1, so they're all fairly closely matched to the market. Just imagine if it did manage to dry out and she ran, she'd shorten up. So I can't look against her. It's 4-1 as well. It is a fifth of the odds first free. That's a really scummy way to potentially suggest it, but I can't get her out of my head. So it is Choisya in this race, so long as she runs. If she didn't run, Orchard Bloom would be the one, but then again, she'll be sub 3-1, I think, after that, and it's a bit of a mismatch for the start of it. So I'll stick with her, but you can tell it's quite tentative.
Yeah, but hopefully then to pay us back a little bit for that listed Snowdrop Filly Stakes on her reappearance start. That was a bit of a sickener for plenty of us then, but she's a 4-1 shot in here. And will she run or won't she run then on the ground? You're going to have to take that as a positive, whichever way if they do elect to run her. Andrew, are you also with Choisya again in this one, or were you looking away from her?
Yeah, the ground is an advantage. Choisya is a daughter of Knight of Thunder. Knight of Thunders have a fantastic record on good to soft or softer going. Now, a lot of trainers are dense, not the brightest. I mean, let's have a look at Leicester last Saturday. Bletchley Storm, trained by Michael Wickham. Right, used to be trained by Michael Bell. Had first two runs on soft ground last year. Second at Nottingham, second at Windsor. Then got chinned at a short price at Sandown. After which the trainer blamed the soft ground. Now, it was very deep. I was at Leicester on Saturday. It was very, very soft indeed. Bletchley Storm, the first time, a daughter of Knight of Thunder, I should say. That's why I'm making this link. For Michael Wickham, has won by 7.5 lengths after being back from 10-1 to 6-1. Her breeding suggests she needs soft ground. And just because like Muppet Trousers Michael Bell, you know, who's silver spoon trainer, not one to have on your side, blamed the ground for a defeat at Sandown when obviously there were other factors at play. People look at the race going, oh, they blame the soft ground in the past, but you've got to think about who's telling you that. It's very similar here with Choisya and the Christmas. So, perhaps not the brightest pair of in the training ranks. And you look at her Racing Post ratings. She got 103 when finishing second by 3/4 of a length on officially soft ground at Newmarket last back end. She got a Racing Post rating of 100 when beating Novus on good to soft ground. Her breeding suggests she will relish this ground. Her form suggests it's fine. Just because the trainer has pulled her out on soft ground previously, probably suggests the trainer doesn't know what they are doing, I should say, because there's two of them. So do not be put off by the ground by Choisya. Now, the draw is perhaps more worrying, because if it is genuinely heavy soft in places, as they're calling it, we saw last year we had so many Goodwood meetings on soft and heavy ground. They swung wide into the straight, and it was a case of he or she who got the stand side rail first had a massive advantage, and it was a high draw was a big advantage. So even in this sort of what we got, sort of eight, 9 runners, whatever it is, it might be an advantage to be drawn high. But I would say Choisya has got a fantastic chance. The other one I was interested in at a silly price was Royal Dress, who coincidentally another daughter of Knight of Thunder. And what do we know about Knight of Thunders? They love the mud, except if you're Michael Bell or the Chryslids. So, and what's it? She's won on heavy ground. Heavy, if you got a Knight of Thunder, run it in the mud, you idiot. So, won by 3 lengths from Lady Mojito last July on heavy ground at Haydock. So, change of yard, Richard Hannon to Jameson 8. First time hood, that could go either way. Might need the run, but when you're getting 25 to 1, you can take the chance. And she's drawn 8 of 8 top of the shop, so I'm going to go Royal Dress over Choisya. But for goodness sake, if you see breeding, see a horse by the sign Knight of Thunder, you see good to soft or soft to going, do not be put off by the ground.
Do not be put off then. I don't know if Andrew's made that point, but there it was, just to reiterate it. My favourite part of that was the way you sort of were taking a second to think about what to call trainers in a polite way, and ended up with dents anyway. That was my absolute favourite part of that. I wonder where else.
I mean, I do have a list. I have a list of Muppet trainers. I have a list of Silver Spoon trainers who are only in the game because they couldn't get a proper job. Sainsbury's rejected them, and their fathers and grandfathers were trainers, and that's why they're doing it. But my goodness, there's a long old list as well, I'll tell you.
So I would do ticking 2 boxes for one of the aforementioned trainers, according to Andrew, that Muppet and Silver Spoon. God, that is hilarious. But anyway, Choisya and Royal Dress, the Knight of Thunders to the fore on the testing conditions there at Goodwood. I don't know how we're going to follow this, Dave, as we move back to Newmarket then for another heritage handicap. The Suffolk Stakes this time around, 3-year-olds and over 9 furlongs at 220. Again, wide open contest. It is 6 to 1 the field, I should say, in this one. And again, we've got another extra place race in this one. 5 places on offer each way plus with Bet MGM. So Andrew, God help us. I'll pass it back to you.
This is a fantastic race. This is sort of another one I went down the rabbit hole with a bit, and there's so many horses I like here. Now, the key here is that you look at the top of the market, and you've got Hafit Alain, who beat Dutch Decoy by a nose over a mile here last time. Theory of Everything was 4th in that race, and Majestic is 5th. This was a 1 mile handicap at the Craven meeting, when it was a big advantage to be drawn low and race on the far side, and it was a big advantage to be over the pace. Generally at that meeting. Now, those 4, were they flattered by that low draw they had that day? And are they all going to bomb out completely? So my sort of first thought was, yes, I want to be against that lot. And you look at them: Dutch Decoy 9 to 1 favourite. Theory of Everything sort of Theory of Everything 7 to 1 favourite. Dutch Decoy 9 to 1. Happy to Lane and Majestic all fairly prominent. But at the same time, I kind of want to take a bit of insurance in case I've got this completely wrong, and just like perm a lot of them in a combination trifecta and exacta, just in case they finish sort of like 1, 2, 3. Now I'm thinking it might be an advantage to be drawn high here. I'm very interested in Bopedro coming out of stall 16 of 16. Now Bopedro was another horse who was inconvenienced by the pace bias at this Craven meeting. Finished 8th of 17, beaten 2 1/4 lengths by her feet, Alyanaabi. It was only a 15-2 shot under Rosallion, and of course was drawn in 14, racing the near side, came from off the pace, finished 4th of his group. So I think perhaps a more prominent ride, and coming towards the near side rail under Danny Tucko could be the key. Mr. Professor, I was against, who I thought was flattered in the Lincoln. Killybeck's Warrior is a fascinating horse. This is one for your trackers to back in the July course. Set your alarm for the July first, because Killybeck's Warrior has been to the July course at Newmarket on 3 occasions, won every single time. Been on the Rolling Mile 3 times and lost every time, though it did run 3rd at 25-1 once. I think the key is probably a small field and an easy lead. I've not looked at the pace bars completely, but James Doyle stall 14. If there isn't much other pace in the race, and maybe he could come across to the near side and run some sort of race. Stay Well's another fascinating one. He's a horse who only ever wins in tiny fields, 6 or fewer runners. Won 3 times in small fields. Anything bigger gets beat. But again, if they split into 2 groups and there's only a handful this side, he could go all right. And Torito, I think it's probably underpriced because of the Gosden angle, but this one can go well fresh. So I was sort of banking on opposing that Craven Form 1 mile handicap, where everything was drawn low, might have been flatted, and looking at the likes of sort of Bopedro, Killybeck's Warrior, and Stay Well. Pinning it down to 1, I'll go Bopedro, but I think I'll be sort of perming high drawn runners here in Tote Exotics, but ignoring Mr. Professor, who was flattered when winning the Lincoln from off the pace.
But ignoring Mr. Professor, Bopedro 14-1 then in this one. And again, as I say, 5 places on offer if you wanted to be backing him in that sense. Dave, the Suffolk Stakes, who do you like?
I mean, I feel like I've got to be careful what I say, because Andrew is definitely on one today.
Someone's giving him caffeine today.
But at least he's got no rebuttal on this race. You have to wait for him to take some offence at first next time up. But this was another one though. Like it's like similar to Andrew though. When you start to go down a bit of a rabbit hole, this one bits of intertwining form as well, and lots of different stuff that's happened over the years at this track. Something that's happened at this track for this horse is Majestic, right? The one that I quite like, 16-1 top price. Was sent off 9-2 for this race last year. They said that it was the ground was the problem, right? So I did quickly check the pedigree before I said anything on that one. It's not a Night of Thunder, so it wouldn't have been. They changed it to soft officially after, so it shows in Racing Post that it was good to soft. But he is a horse that prefers to run on a bit of better ground. Now I tipped him up, I'm pretty sure, in the Cambridgeshire when he stayed on quite nice. He was only beaten a couple of lengths, came 4th that day when he was 14-1 off a mark of 89. That was £4 lower than what he ran in this race last year, but he runs off £2 lower this time round. He actually ran really well. Had a prep run last year for the race, had a prep run this year. Davy Probert got the ride that day. Was basically leading right till the line, and then just lost 3 places at the death, so ended up coming 4th in the race in the end. That was over 1 mile though. This is 1 mile 1. Now normally the horse is ridden a bit more patiently and then he picks up off the pace, whereas that instance, the fact they went out forceful, I don't know, just it looked like a piece of work when they were going out there, but it's not like a piece of work where they were hiding it in the back like they do in hurdle races. It looked like a piece of work and they were being aggressive, getting him out there, doing what they needed to do. So I think he's been completely and utterly tuned up with this race in mind. And I think the 16-1 about him was a bit of an oversight. So I think he'll be an obvious shortener, because many of the ones that Andrew's even mentioned at the top of the market, they're plenty short enough, especially this Torito could end up being like, I know not quite the same, but like a Sweet William type horse, like a group race horse that picks up a couple of handicaps. But as much as the trainer form's just a thing that you can choose how you want to see it, a lot of the Gosden's horses, I think they're 0 from 5 in handicaps recently. They've had a few winners, but they're running at sort of 80% of the expectation rate of winners to the prices that they should be. So they're underperforming slightly, but wouldn't worry about it too much. You would just think this is a bit of a let's just run him in a race and see what we can do with him after type stuff. Whereas I think Majestic, 16-1 top price, there are 5 places up for grabs. This is by design, and I think Majestic's got a proper chance.
I think one thing we should say is watch that earlier 6 furlong handicap, because if there is a draw bias or a perception of a draw bias among the jockeys, then we could see that have a big bearing on this race. And be flexible. And if you think it's going to be high draws all the way, and the first race says otherwise, then it's okay to change your mind.
Yeah, be flexible, Dave. There you go. There's your instructions for this week. Your homework is do your limbering up, basically. Yeah, again, on the draw front, we're into that time of year now where Andrew just comes into his zone with the draw front and exactly what to expect from them. Right. Wonder if that's going to be the case at Thirsk. This is the Thirsk Hunt Cup.
Well
Every
done.
year,
Careful how you say it.
I get the cold sweats every single year with this race. A 0 to 105 handicap, 4-year-olds and over a mile at 240, funnily enough, at Thirsk. And again, another really competitive event here, 6 to 1 the field, 5 places on offer, each way plus race. Yet again in this one, Thunder Roar, Northern Express, constantly vying for favoritism since the betting has opened up. So, Dave, who wins the race? I'm not going to say the title of again.
Well, this was one that I did think about, Andrew, while I was writing it, and I was genuinely worried about what his reaction was going to be.
The Thirsk Hunt Cup.
I'm even more so now. But the mad thing about this is, in my notes, it will continue as I prepared it. Bletchley Storm's getting another mention because bar him last week at Leicester, everything that won was up on the front end of the pace. So I did tip up Rado Bag. He just ran really, really flat. It was just a terrible run. That was a bit of a rookie call by me there. But Thunder Roar and Look Back Smiling were both in that race as well. Now, Thunder Roar looked potentially like a very well handicapped horse too. He had no excuses other than the fact that, I don't know, he was a little bit off the pace. They say that he was prominent and sort of up there with him. He was a few lengths behind. But Look Back Smiling looked like he didn't get the clearest of runs through. Now, the horse was hanging its head. Maybe it's a bit of a battle with the jockey. But even when it did open up, stayed on quite nicely. I tipped up the horse last week because it was doubly entered, wasn't it? Haydock and here. I thought the Haydock race, I thought, why would you decide to go there? I thought the 7 furlongs might have been the trip for the horse. But he is only a 4-year-old. That run at Leicester did look like he was seeing it out quite nicely towards the line, but maybe the desperation of having him doubly entered last week showed that they were thinking about this race. So I think there's a bit of scope with the fact that he's shown enough last week for me to think actually a mile probably is about the right trip for him, at least to try this season for a little while. Maybe a little bit of a grasp, but he's 14 to 1 top price. I think that's quite big. And as much as Thunder Roar's like as short as a 5 or 6 to 1 poke in here, and I can understand why he's that price, I can't really understand why Look Back Smiling's twice the price given of how they ran against each other last week. Year younger as well, and I do think it's by design that they doubly entered him last week because they were desperate to prep for this. So Look Back Smiling is going to be another selection. I put him up last week, didn't run, and hopefully he runs this time round. 14 to 1. I think he's got a right chance.
Yeah, we didn't know which way he was going to go last week, did we? Like say he was doubly declared then at Leicester and Haydock. He ended up going to Leicester in the end then, so didn't get the run on that occasion, but hopefully at 14 to 1, 7-day turnaround. Look Back Smiling can go 3 places better than that latest. Andrew, Thirsk for you.
Yeah, I like Look Back Smiling as well. Now I was so obviously he's come out first time out, beat Thunder Roar in the Spring Mile at Doncaster, the Lincoln Consolation Race. Came from off the pace, so I was against him next time because we saw, if you look at the Lincoln, you look at the Spring Mile, any horse who came from off the pace and finished in the first 4 has been beaten outside next time out. I couldn't believe people wanted to back Thunder Roar at sort of like 4 to 1, 9 to 2 last week. That was sort of plain daft, in my opinion. Now, Look Back Smiling goes to Newbury, gets chinned. And perhaps looks like he wants to come back to 7 furlongs on that evidence. But I was really impressed by the Leicester run last week because it's a funny old race, that one. Miss Antic, a sort of hard to assess first time for Amy Murphy after leaving France, 22 to 1 shot. I had on my radar if there was money for him, but he was weak in the betting. And I wasn't like massively impressed in the paddock. So I was at Leicester last week. He pinged off from a low draw, made all, got a 5 lengths lead at halfway, and everything in behind is sort of thinking, he's a big price, he'll come back. And Kieran Frown's probably overdone maybe it's me talking from my wallet, overdone the waiting tactics on Al Moop here, who's got within a neck of him. But Look Back Smiling, I was sort of quite taken with how far back he's come to get within 2 lengths of the winner. So I would certainly on a sharper track, with not with the uphill finish that Leicester's got. I thought maybe Look Back Smiling here. I couldn't, like Dale, I couldn't believe sort of 16 to 1, 14 to 1 was an accurate price because this is a son of Fast Company. Fast Company like Night of Thunder, another mention. They love to get their toe in. I know we've got a sort of mixed forecast over the next few days, but you can't believe there won't be some sort of cut. So yeah, I will go Look Back Smiling. The others of interest, last year's winner Northern Express, Redarna, Redarna is such a frustrating stone throw. Remember when he popped up at a massive price first time up, when every sort of form judge in the country thought he always needs his first run back. He wins second time out. Second run after a break of 90 days or longer, 3 wins from 8 starts, profit of £49.50. So, coming out of stall 6, having had a pipe opener finishing 5th a couple of weeks ago, I thought Redarna had a good chance. Pisanello was, pardon my French, was second last year. £4 higher this time, but stall 1 perhaps not ideal, even though last year's when it came out of stall 2. So I was going to look back smiling and Redarna here.
Okay, Redarna is a big price in here at 22-1, but both of you agreeing with the 14-1 shot with a look back smiling as well. And how childish are we? Laughing at Pisanello in here in the Thirsk Hunt Cup. But hey ho, I'm going to be going against the pair of you two in here, and no funny names for my two. Quest for Fun, first and foremost, is the main play then for me. He's evidently done very well since joining Tim Easterby, 2 wins last season at York and Catterick, both over 7 furlongs. His reappearance, of course, also came over that distance as well at Musselburgh, close up 4th in that on a career high mark, but it still looked a mark that was feasible to win off of because he loomed up 2 furlongs out there, but of course he had the wide trip and he probably paid for that as well as it being his reappearance in the closing stages. So he's likely to come forwards for the run off the same mark. This will be the first time that he's tackling 1 mile, but I thought it was worth him giving this a go though, considering how well he stayed on over the 7 in heavy ground on his final start, a winning one of last season. So he'll be the first one. And Racing Breaks Rider, he's an interesting horse. He could just be gone at the game for all I know.
Well, I bet him last time in the Spring Cup at Newbury, and was quite thinking he'd be there on the premises late under Jamie Spencer, but he just never got going at all.
No, and that's why I wonder. I know it was first after the gelding operation, it was reappearance start, and the way he signed off last year, you do just wonder, oh, is he just not, is he gone at the game a bit nowadays? But I wonder if this time of year, I know that he did disappoint on that reappearance start, finishing mid-division at a big price, but this time of year though then for him, of course, he brought up the hat trick in April to May last year, and he is now below his last winning mark, which was of 90. He's running off the mark of 88. Time of year then, is it another opportunity to give him a chance here? And that reappearance run, he's entitled to come forwards and for it if it was just that cost him in the closing stages. But about 16-1 for him. I just thought he was worth mention for an each way play. Right, we switch back to Newmarket now for the Group 3 Palace House Stakes. 3-year-olds and over, 5 furlongs. I'd say at 2.55. We have last year's winner, Vadream, in this one, but Beautiful Diamond has worked her way to the head of the market for the Carl Burkyard. 7-2 favourite now, Andrew. So she's really contracted in price since the opening show.
Yeah, fascinating race, this one, because we've got the whole thing with the draw again. We've got 9 runners, or 8 runners now. I think there's a non-runner. Stalls in the middle. If the earlier races suggest you want to be coming near side, Beautiful Diamond could be a little bit exposed, I thought, in stall 1, and at odds of 7-2, despite the fact she won the third time out last year, I'm happy to take her on. I want to be against Vadream. I'm a big fan of this horse, but she's ground dependent. She loves the mud. According to the clerk of the course on Thursday afternoon, it was slightly on the soft side of good. There's not a huge amount of rain forecast. The thunderstorms forecast for some areas of the south of likely to miss Newmarket. So I think there could be a funny one here. And now I've bet Mitabahi one of the favourites because that was a huge effort last time out, the Abate Stakes over 6 furlongs here. Again, we've talked about the Craven meeting, the tailwind, the pace bias. You had to be on the front end. 7 of the first 8 runners, 7 of the first 8 finishers raced, up with the pace. The only one who didn't was the 2-length fourth at 25-1. Mitabahi was having his first run for Charles Hills, having been with Roger Varian previously. Now he's ridden by Spencer and he's back in trip. I mean, form-wise, the drop in trip shouldn't, but if you sort of want to have a bet that the jockey's going to overdo the waiting tactics and get beaten the short head into second, it's probably Mitabahi on Saturday. But I don't want to lose if Mitabahi wins, so I've backed him. But although Key Spirit, you could argue, was favoured by the low draw and the tailwind when bolting up from Novello here on his comeback. he won with so much in hand that I thought that it might be one of these ones that, would have won regardless of the bias. So T Spirit, the last off front runner from stall 5, I think he's going to run a big race here just by being up in class from class 3 handicap to group company. And the other one was where is he gone significantly? Trained by Julie Camacho, now significantly would have needed that comeback run behind Dog 30, finishing 8th of 18. That was over 6 furlongs here in handicap company at the Craven meter. That was a fantastic race. And again, you look at the first sort of 3 or 4 home in that race, press leader, led, prominent press winner, in touch. And it was Summerghand was 5th in that race. Abate was 6th, and significantly, I think, was 3rd best of the hold-up horses. That was a really good run, would have been needed, and I think he's going to run a good race here at sort of 20 to 1 or thereabouts. I mean, if you want to have a sort of related contingency bet, an each-way double, Summerghand, and significantly 2 horses who ran well against the pace bias coming from off the pace in that 6 furlong handicap, could be the way to go. So yeah, significantly, and T Spirit will be split stakes for me here.
20 to 1 about significantly. T Spirit 16s each way plus race for 3 places on offer then with Bet MGM in this one. But I'm pleased that you gave a good shout out to Mitt Barhi all the same, because earlier on in the week, prior to the updated forecast, I did preview this race and I thought that Vadream was the one who was overpriced in the anticipation that the rain was probably going to come. But of course, Newmarket dries out so fast, and hearing the clerk of the courses report this morning, I don't think she needs the soft ground as such. I thought she ran a fine race at Bath last time out, but it definitely helps her in this type of a grade. And she showed that last year. She had come into the race last year on the back of her 5 runs instead of just the 1 this time round. So for all that I put her up at the start of the week with the anticipation of the rain, I'm just going to leave her to one side.
Do you think the uphill finish helps in terms of stamina?
Yeah, as well then. Because I mean, last time I was at Bath as well, then she got going far too late there, and I just and I really like her, but I just don't think that it's going to conspire in her favor. And with the pace as well, like I say, I think that T Spirit's the only one really that's going to go forwards, blast from the front, and that is a slight concern for Mitt Barhi in this one, as you say, especially with Jamie Spencer taking the ride. So perhaps he will find one too good for him, but I thought that he was the one to be with then in this one. Like I say, previously with Roger Varian, now Charlie Hills, solid stable debut that was on the back of a 256-day absence, 4th in the Group 3 Abonant. And as you said, Andrew, he did best of those from off of the pace quite some. I just hope it doesn't count against him here, because this race also does tend to go to prominent races, but I still think he's good enough to win this with that back class. And Mitt Barhi then for me. Dave, where were you going?
I've never been more disappointed in someone than I am in you right now, Kate, because I watched your little rundown of it and I was really excited. And when Andrew was going through the field, I could see your face look at the camera the same as mine, thinking, when's he going to give Vadream a mention? When's he going to give Vadream a mention? And he didn't. And I'm disappointed, but don't worry, I'm sticking with Vadream. I know I do get the ground stuff right. I think she's had 24 turf races, only the 3 wins, so she's hardly prolific anyway. The 2 wins have come soft and heavy, I think, aren't they? More recent ones. But something else that's semi-interesting with that, because we could read into form lines to prove anything, right? She's run really well on better ground anyway. But the couple of times that she did get those wins, Kieran Schumacher's ridden her, but someone else rode her just before. They switched her up. And I know he got beat when they did that before recently, when they ran behind Art Power at Ascot, but that was on the bad soft ground. That was over 6 furlongs. Proved them that maybe the ground isn't as essential as it potentially looks like it could be. Like Andrew said there, the stiff finish I think will be enough in there. That Living the Dream form I still think looks pretty good. Adam West actually, during the time of us recording, has announced that goes back to the Temple Stakes. So I just think there's unfinished business with Vadream. Won it last year, and I do think because the ground's gone the way that it is, it's going to make people start to do what you're doing, Kate, and doubt her. And I think the 10 to 1 about her is an oversight, to be honest with you, because she's one of those, right? For all that it's a 5 furlong sprint, pace, tactics, all those types of things are going to come into play. The ground will have obviously some sort of bearing in it, but I do think the tactical part of it will be more of a significance. And I can't see how Vadream doesn't finish in the top 3. She might get nabbed for being done for first place, but that could happen in these types of races. I just think at 10 to 1, it's an absolute freebie of a bet. I'm sticking with Vadream, and shame on you, Kate, for deserting her.
Shame. I know, yeah. To be fair, I'm gonna have a bit on her at 10-1 all the same anyway, but in terms of nameplate.
Just wait for Newmarket's Friday card, see what the times are, see how solid the ground is, wait to see if the rain arrives. So, and again, it's like they say, if it chucks down, if it's going to thunderstorm or two before racing, then she's a 5-2 shot, isn't she? But if they don't get the rain, then 10-1's probably about right.
Yeah, that's exactly it, isn't it? Yeah, see if we believe the times or the going descriptions at this stage, and wait to see what exactly happens in terms of the weather there. Right, our final scheduled race is the big one. The Group 1 2,000 guineas for the 3-year-olds over MR at 3:35. City of Troy. Is he the next Frankel? 4-6 shot at the head of the market for Ballydoyle. Rosallion, who Richard Hannon is talking about in the same breath as some of his absolute stable greats over the years. And then we've got a whole load of really interesting runners that we don't know exactly where we are really with them at this stage. So, Dave, I'm going to give you first crack at the 2,000 guineas.
Yay, thanks very much. It's a proper exciting race. I know every year it tends to get like this, but we've waited. I mean, I've waited since the Superlative Stakes to see what City of Troy is going to do in the 2,000 guineas, because I talked him down that day. We didn't really know as much about him then as we do now. It was more the fact that the horses that Aidan had sent over for that Superlative Stakes hadn't really gone on to do too much. So he's made me have a bit of egg on my face, and he might continue to do so. But I just wanted to mention that again, because if people see me taking him on at this point, which I'm about to do, you might just think I'm being stubborn because I took him on back then, and you might be right. I might just be stubborn. But we talked pre-production about this as well, so Andrew better lend a little bit more on the sire side of it. But his mum has bred 4 horses, and only one of them managed to win after being 2-year-old, so from 3-year-old onwards. So that's a bit of a concern. I hadn't done the delving in, so in my write-up I did for the 2,000 guineas trends for GG, I said in there that I haven't done enough work on the justified stuff to see what it is. But luckily, obviously, Andrew Mount's got us covered on that front. But it's enough to see, right? He was a very a big stamp of a horse, like a nice, impressive specimen last season. And I'm not that good with like looking at the horses in terms of, oh, this one looks like it's like far enough forward, or whether they might need the run and things like that. Like, I've got an all right eye for it, but wouldn't say I'm an expert. But you could tell that he was ahead of his 2-year-olds physically, like his other like 2-year-old rivals last year physically. So this being the first race at the start of the season, right, that carryover may continue. He might still get away with it, but I think they're going to catch up with him this year. And I don't think, I mean, some of them have got a lot to find, but I don't think Rosallion's got anything to find, to be honest with you. And you can get 11-2 about Rosallion top prize, a fifth of the odds for 3 places. That is the top prize. So I think it's an absolute and utter free roll, because I think Rosallion could win this. There's no way that he's not in the places. I did the trendsy stuff. He ticks all the boxes towards those things. Well, the top 2 in the market typically do, but we've seen lots of hype horses and lots of favourite horses get beat in this race in the past. I think that unfortunately City of Troy could be another one of those. It might be that, like you said at the start, like it could be like the new Frankel, that type of bit. But yeah, there's enough about him for me to be concerned, I think, to be honest with you. I do think as well, like if you look at Rosallion's form, it's not just me trying to take on the favourite and then just picking the next one in the betting. His trouncing of Ancient Wisdom in that Pat Stakes at Ascot, I think, is the best form we've actually got on offer. I know City of Troy's been visually impressive, but I don't know, maybe the form lines haven't stacked up so much with what the horses have done in behind. So I think Rosallion's got a proper chance. 11-2 just feels like an absolutely filthy bandit each way bet, but I think he can beat City of Troy.
Get the balaclava out, but you also think that he can beat the odds-on favourite, though, in this one. So Dave is taking on City of Troy with those potential doubts, Andrew. You have a similar mindset?
Yeah, tricky one. It's one of those races a lot of people say we don't need to have a bet, you can just watch and enjoy it. I generally disagree with that sort of conclusion, because I like to have a bet. But in this case, I'm almost in agreement with him. Again, the draw is very interesting. You've got 11 runners. The stalls are in the centre. If the earlier races suggest there's a stand-side bias, you've got Knight Raider in stall 1, City of Troy 2, Ghost Rider 3, Rosallion 4, all fancied. Interesting, Dave was mentioning the progeny of Justified. Their strike rate does not necessarily fall off a cliff, but certainly decline markedly from 2 to 3. So they've got a 29% strike rate. As 2-year-olds, you'd make profit back in them all. Interestingly, the profits come from the non-Aidan O'Brien trained ones, thanks to a 66-1 winner. The 3-year-old says it's 13% instead of 29%, and you just wonder whether this is the horse who will train on. And we've been asked to take 6-4 on. you might be thinking, well, maybe I'll take the chance that he was a flash in the pan as a 2-year-old, and he's not going to make a 3-year-old, so I'll be looking elsewhere. And Haatem is particularly interesting. As a horse we talked a lot about last season, a real hardy individual. And he does seem to have improved since going up in trip. I mean, he started life at 5 furlongs, didn't go over 7 until July, the Superlative Stakes, last year. Finished second to City of Troy, albeit being 6.5 lengths. Then he won at Goodwood, beating Iberian over 7. Dropped back to 6, well beaten the next twice. Back up to 7, 5th behind City of Troy in the Dewhurst, looking like he needed to step up to a mile. And then on his comeback. Now, I know that there was a tailwind. I know it was a front runner's track, but he's won by 3.5 lengths. Could be a bit like T Spirit. He's won with a massive ton in hand, even though he's had the run of the race. So he's 1 from 1 at the trip. Blast off down the middle, Haatem from stall 5. I thought 33 to 1. That's a fair old each way bet. Notable speech, yet to race on the curve, like Night Raider. You can probably sort of just let that one pass. Innes Sharon, half interesting. Kevin Ryan, he's had some big price place horses in this race previously, and Alyanaabi, of course. This is interesting for Owen Burrows, because his form ties in with City of Troy. Now, last time we saw him, he was second in the Dewhurst behind City of Troy. You've got Evan Shaddad and Haatem with 3rd and 5th in that race, because we're round 1-2 in the Craven. It will like the ground if it dries out. And Task Force, I was a bit worried about the wind operation. Frankel's not particularly a strong stat. And Iberian from stall 11, not without hope, I thought, for Roger Varian, if there is that standside bias. Now, he was only 6th in City of Troy last time out, but of course, that was on soft ground, and he's only had 1 run on ground of faster than good to soft. He won that well on his comeback, and I think if it is a quicker surface, then Iberian from stall 11 of 11 could be the one. So I was just going to fire off 3 each way arrows: Iberian, Alyanaabi, and Haatem.
To take on the favourite, but with those each way plays and all nice prices as well for those 3 then. So allowing the 3 stabs at it when you're taking on a 4 to 6 shot at the head of the market. I would disagree with the lads, because I think that he is something special, City of Troy. I completely take on board everything both of you have said about the pedigree and also the hype horses that we have had from Ballydoyle. I mean, even as recent as last year with August Rodin, who is just a law unto his own from what he's going to produce for him from one run to the next. But you go back to some odds on shots that have been beaten Air Force Blue then in this race in previous years, who looked to have the world at their feet going into it. But for me, City of Troy has still looked a whole cut above even what those horses produced in those 2-year-old years. So I think that he's going to take all the beating. Huge respect, Rosallion. What a wonderful horse. I guess the one time in his 4 starts, I was very confidently siding with him when the world just fell apart through all connections and he got beaten up at Doncaster. But City of Troy, though, for me to win. And the one that represents the each way play for me is going to be Ghostwriter in here for Clive Cox and Richard King's at 16 to 1 shot. But with those 3 places on offer, he'll be the one for me. Course and distance winning form, unbeaten in his 3 starts so far, and his last start winning a very up to scratch renewal, I thought, of the Group 2 Royal Lodge Stakes. And of course that form has produced Derby and Dante winners in previous years as well. And that day I love the fact he proved his tactical versatility, happy to take a lead in that, can be ridden whichever way, and seemingly plenty of stamina reserves which he can put to good use as well. Now he is drawn in 3. I've got City of Troy in 2, so I'm hoping the draws are going to count against the pair of those 2. And we were thrown the question by a producer of this show to potentially discuss the idea if City of Troy could win the Triple Crown. Now there's no point in asking you both, because you don't think he's going to win this. So I do. I don't think he's a Triple Crown contender. I looked up his price beforehand, 5 to 1. From what Connections was saying over the winter, I don't think he's even going to attempt it. If he wins the Guineas and wins it well, then obviously I hugely anticipate him going to try and win the Derby. But they've had the Breeders' Cup Classic as their ultimate aim, to try and create this monster of almost like a dual purpose performer across different surfaces. So if they can get a dirt performer as well as a classic winning performer on the turf in this country, then I imagine that's the way he's going to go. So hopefully all goes well on Saturday for City of Troy. I can't wait to see what he's going to do for the rest of this season. But of course, on Sunday, we have the 1,000 Guineas. Now, Dave, you took a look across to the fillies equivalent then, the 1,000 Guineas on the Sunday. We don't have decks at this stage, but did you have an opinion?
Strong opinion on this one. You know, when we look at the trend and stuff, I know like Andrew does it in much more depth and more regularly than I do, but it's a lot of the time you'll do it and you'll just find the obvious ones come to the top of the list. So the 2,000 Guineas was the classic example, just comes up with the first couple in the betting. When I did it for the Bet 365 Gold Cup at Sandown, it did whittle it down to a few. We did have the winner in there, although I didn't tip him up. Manila Kukuna, he ran well. I was worried about him travelling, but we are where we are. This one came out though. We had just one full qualifier, and it's a big price as well. So I have to give a mention to Porta Fortuna. Ticks the most boxes. It doesn't actually tick every single one of them, but narrowly missed out right on. There's an RPR like band of winners for this race in the last 10 years. 109 to 111 is what you want to look for. They posted 108, so just shy of that. But on those trends, all of the last 10 winners had run at 1 mile, but only 4 of them had won. 9 of the last 10 winners were not sent off favourite. 8 of the last 10 were not in the top 3 official rated runners. 8 of the last 10 had more than 5 career starts, or 5 or more. They'd won 8 of the last 10 had won a group rate. 8 of the last 10 had won more than once. So ticks loads of the boxes. It's just that little bit on the RPR stuff. Tom Marquand's due to take the ride. Interesting that this also has had lots of different jockeys as well, but 3 of those have won first time up on top of Porta Fortuna. Top price 20 to 1. I expect this horse to run significantly better than the bookies that think she will. So massive price as far as I'm concerned. 20 to 1. I can see it going off a lot shorter. Porta Fortuna has a proper chance in the 1,000 Guineas.
With Tom Marquand booked to ride 20 to 1. It's a bit insulting, really, from how much likeable things she did last year. So Porta Fortuna 20 to 1 for Dave. Andrew, did you have any sort of opinion on the 1,000?
Yeah, I was just going to give an honourable mention to Rolika for Jane Chapel Haatem, who was favourite for a debut at Nottingham last back end on heavy ground, finished 3rd, very keen, ran green, and then when reappearing at the Craven meeting, it was just a fillies maiden, but she's raced keenly again, come from off the pace to win. Now, the runner-up, Vicario, one of the 9 to 4 joint favourites, made the running that day. Went clear from a long way out, and the third, who was beaten 5.5 lengths for second, raced in second place throughout. So I think to come from off the pace as she did that day on a track that was massively favouring front runners, marked her up as one to follow. Now, because it's a huge step up in class, albeit that was a Class 2 maiden. But I think we have big field, strong pace. Rolika, Holly Doyle on board, 66 to 1 at the time of writing. Obviously, that's at the moment, if you back her, you will lose your money if she doesn't run, because these aren't the final declarations. But I thought she had a bit of a squeak there for Jane Chapel Haatem.
Huge price as well. Holly Doyle booked to ride 66 to 1 for Rolika in the 1,000 Guineas. I thought Fallen Angel was going to take all the beating in this one. Really likeable. Only been beaten once in her career so far, but since then she's gone on to bigger and better things, taking the Group 1 Moyglare Stud Stakes when the reopposing Ylang obviously massively underperformed that day, but she's proven her mental constitution, able to travel, and how strong she was over the 7 furlongs there in the final furlong. I don't have any sort of doubts about her getting the mile trip. So she's got a perfect blend of speed, stamina, and class, but also a little play on El Malka then, who was slightly gutting one from last time out, but I still thought she ran a blinder of a race, hitting the line so strongly again. So 33 to 1 for her. I can't let her go unbacked now for the 1,000 Guineas. Right, that was a look ahead then to the 1,000 Guineas. Lads, we're running out of time rapidly, but Andrew, I'll go back to you if you did have anything from anywhere else.
No, nothing from me.
Grand, perfect, thank you. Dave, hopefully the same answer, but please continue.
No, nothing from anywhere else. Good racing, looking forward to it. Definitely
so. Right, Dave, your nap then, please, of the weekend.
I'm going to go bullish again. I'm going to go look back smiling because it got Andrew's seal of approval.
Look back smiling with Andrew ticking the box as well. Andrew, I hope that wasn't yours.
My nap is that we'll have forgotten to ask people to like and subscribe at the start of this video, which indeed we did. So yeah, like and subscribe, and we might actually get paid next week. Now, nap wise, I'm going to go for one at a big price. I'll go to the 5 furlong Palace House Stakes in Tea Spirit, to blast off down the middle of the track and win by 3 3/4 lengths, 16 to 1.
Oh, perfect to not see another rival then. Oh, goodness me, right, you've taken mine. Oh, my race. I'm going to go Sierra Leone in the Kentucky Derby. Why not? Let's mix it up a bit. We're going to go for him then.
Derby,
Hopefully
you got to say Derby.
In the Derby. So hopefully Fierceness won't decide to put his best foot forward in Sierra Leone in the Kentucky Derby for you stateside fans out there. And well done to Andrew for reminding you to like and subscribe and do the YouTube channel. We got 41 extra subscribers last week. So thank you to those of you who subscribed. Those of you who haven't yet, why not? This is your opportunity again then. So
we get £1 for everyone, don't we? So what's that between the three of us?
Yes, exactly that. Right, that is everything from us on this week's show. But a big thank you to the lads as ever for all of their hard work. Big thank you to our sponsors BetMGM. A big thank you to you at home for watching. Enjoy a Guineas weekend, and we'll speak to you again next week.